Good evening, everyone. The February 27th, 2023 meeting of Agenda Charter Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please read the roll?
Johns.
Here.
Chairman Johns is present. Mr. Long? Here. Mr. Long is present.
Okay, is there anyone signed up for the public forum this evening?
There is not.
All right. Next item will be, we're going to take up approval of the minutes from the previous meeting from January 23rd. The minutes are before you. They'll stand approved unless someone contacts the clerk of any changes before the end of the day. Clerk, do we have any new business?
Referral 23-0007, enacting a local law amending the Code of Ethics.
Moved by Legislator Brew and second by Legislator Barnhart.
Gus, if I may,
Yes. Yeah, the chair recognizes
Legislator Brew.
Brew.
Okay, thank you. Based upon the Law Department's review and necessity to move this important legislation forward, I'm going to make a motion to amend the resolution to remove the mailing stipulation for the time being and to allow the Law Department and Legislator Barnhart to work on refining the aspect for future submission. And at this time, I would like to offer the amendment that I believe the staff is going to distribute.
Mr. Brew, do you have a second? Oh, Legislator Barnhart, you seconded the motion to amend?
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. Thought it was to the administration.
I would just like to explain. I think it's really important. I think it's really important to put restrictions on the use of taxpayer dollars when it comes time before election. And images in communications to the public. I know that the state legislature has restrictions on franking. You know, they're not allowed to send us the mail that looks like campaign mail right before an election. I don't think we should be allowed to do that either. So it is something that I think we should revisit, but I'm all for making it very clear and look forward to doing that.
Thank you, Legislator Barnhart. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the resolution as amended?
We have to vote on the amendment first.
Oh, excuse me. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Amendment carries. Okay, now we're going to vote on the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item carries.
Referral 23-0031, banning of vaping in Monroe County parks.
Okay, moved by Legislator Delahanty, second by Legislator Long. Any discussions? Oh, yes. Chair recognizes
Legislator Brew.
Legislator Brew.
Thank you once again. Through the chair to the sponsor or maker of the motion, I understand vaping is a relatively new activity. Are there any studies you can provide that show evidence of the efforts of secondhand electronic cigarette vapor?
Question, Mr. Legislator Brew. I could probably send you some studies on the negative health impacts, cancer and other respiratory illnesses related to vaping, but you'd need to give me a couple days. I don't have one on me.
Yeah, through the chair to Legislator Hugh Smith, that that wouldn't be necessary as long as you can attest that the product of those studies have been conducted by multiple reputable organizations.
Sure, thank you, Legislator Brew. We did have a meeting with representatives of the American Lung Association.
Okay, thank you. Next question to the chair, to the sponsor or maker of the motion. While we can understand secondhand vape can be harmful when people are indoors, can you provide evidence or research on the effects of secondhand vape outdoors in settings such as a park?
So that's a great question, Legislator Brew. I would suggest that the impacts are probably similar to that with secondhand smoking. And the state has seen fit to ban smoking on all of our parks. For one, it sets a negative role model for young people and allows for the buildup of the carcinogens and the litter when it's improperly disposed of. So although I might not have a study because they're not in a confined location, there are other reasons one might want.
Thank you. And continuing with a few other questions, through the chair to the sponsor or maker of the motion. Our research has shown that charcoal for barbecues and burning gasoline in cars have much more harmful effects on an individual's health, in contrast to secondhand vaping. Seeing that you seek to ban vaping based upon its secondhand effects, do you also support banning charcoal barbecues or gasoline burning cars in county parks?
Well, I'm not sure my personal opinion is necessarily relevant at to your question, but the health impacts of breathing fossil fuel emissions from automobiles are equal to those risks from secondhand smoking. So I think it's an interesting public health question. That we are seeing electric vehicles being increasingly adopted, and I'm glad more of our county parks have electrical vehicle charging stations. And even there are studies now demonstrating that even with a penetration of electric vehicles in a community as low as 8%, we're seeing decreases in air pollution cause human health impacts. So yeah, I look forward to the day where we do not have those cars on the road and in parks, but no, I'm not seeking to ban them. Drive.
Thank you. And a follow-up question to that. Yes, I can see a day where the population of fossil fuel burning vehicles will be greatly reduced, but I don't see a time where we would be replacing a person's ability to bring their own charcoal or other means of a cookout. So would you say that barbecues are also a cause of carcinogens? It would also be considered to be banned in county parks at some point in the future?
So Legislator Brew, I am not taking a position on whether we're going to ban barbecues in county parks. I would not necessarily be in favor of it. I see a clear distinction between knowing that if a community member is having a cookout in a designated area within our county parks, and I, as perhaps a parent of young children who doesn't want my children near that smoke, doesn't have to be in that section of the park, as opposed to walking through a park and people just randomly smoking. Appreciate your very interesting questions.
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting question, but it's also good to know that, banning barbecues in our parks may not be, may not be for the near future anyways. So that's good to know,
I love a good campfire myself, so.
as do I. Next question to the chair, to the sponsor, the maker of the motion. As you mentioned in your referral text, the state left vaping out of its ban. Do you have any indication why they did do that?
My impression from the American Lung Association advocates who had been in conversation, I have not had direct conversation myself. Their impression was it was an oversight that had not been.
Okay. You indicated through the chair to the legislator, you indicated it may have been an oversight. Is your personal opinion such that it may be taken up at a later time to provide official state legislation for a statewide ban?
So the American Lung Association representatives indicated that they were hopeful that if enough jurisdictions raised this issue, passing the local ban, that it would catch more attention of the state representatives.
Okay. And to the chair, to Legislator Hugh Smith, again, another related question would be, do we know how many counties within the state have actually taken up their own local vaping bans in parks, or is it a little bit too early for that to be known quite yet?
Yeah, I think we would be showing excellent leadership in that area. The state just passed this law a couple months back.
Okay. To the chair, to the sponsor making the motion, how would this new law be communicated to those visiting the park?
Great, thank you, Legislator Brew. So the American Lung Association is happy to provide new signage at no cost to the county.
And again, a follow-up question to that just came to my mind, are there presently no smoking signs displayed in our county parks at the time?
Well, that's a good question. I believe there are. Yeah.
Well, that would be one for the administration, so we'll hold on that. I would guess that if there are no smoking signs in the county parks, those would simply have to be amended or
Yeah.
modified in some way.
At least in the
Through the
county parks
chair.
I've been to, there are signs indicating
Right.
that presumably that's standard.
Okay, so bear with me, almost done here. Through the chair, to the sponsor or maker of the motion, how would this law be enforceable, and what would the criminal or civil penalty be if a sheriff's deputy cited someone for this in one of our parks?
Well,
To
that's
the chair.
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. Again, Legislator Brew, I suspect that I see no reason why it wouldn't be the same as whatever the penalties would be. Generally, I think people
Yeah, through the chair to Legislator Hugh Smith, I would think my personal opinion on that would be is that our law enforcement is taxed with much larger challenges in the day-to-day job of law enforcement to become too over-involved in citing someone for vaping in a park. The last question to the chair, to the sponsor making the motion. There have been long prohibitions on smoking tobacco products in county parks. People still do it anyways. So do you think that this law would stop anyone from using electronic devices?
Thank you, Legislator Brew, for your question. As someone who spends time in county parks on times a week, I actually never come across anyone smoking. Or actually, do I ever run into any sheriffs in our county parks? So I guess that's not an issue that I worry too much about. I think like most laws that people comply with, like driving on the right side of the road, most people are complying with our laws most of the time.
Okay. Thank you, Legislator Hugh Smith. And with that, I would like to offer an amendment to this referral, if I may. My comments would be as follows. This ban seems to be more of a piece of feel-good legislation, which certainly has good intent, but given the lack of scientific support and ability to enforce, and as a Republican, a personal aversion to government telling people how to live their lives and when it is not impacting others, I'm going to make a motion to amend this legislation to create a more enforceable and less intrusive version that I believe both sides of the aisle can support moving forward. And I believe our staff is in the process of handing that out now.
Do you have a second on that?
No, I don't.
Second. We have slower readers on our side of the aisle. We're reading and studying. This is an aside. This state, to legislator Hugh Smith, the state can, now they just passed this a couple months ago. They can always do what they call chapter amendments. And then that would make this a moot point right now, because we're going forward. They have till June 10th or whatever. They can amend what they did, and then that will take precedent over all the local codes. Okay, is there any other discussion on the amendment? Yes, we'd love to
Express
hear
my
it.
opinion.
Yes.
I mean, as a parent, I would be very disappointed in this. I shouldn't have to worry about my health or the health of my kids. People on trails and have their pollutants in the air seems unfair to our youth or other people's youth with our resources. If someone wants to vape, they can do it anywhere. They don't have to come into a park, trail to vape. So where is my right? I'm very disappointed in seeing this. I agree, there's no point in passing laws that, you know, you can't enforce. That was why we pass every law. Anything, vaping creates more. Carcinogenic. I find this very disappointing.
Is there any, yes, Legislator Brew?
Yes, if I could explain my vote, and thank you, Legislator Smith, for your comments. However, I do feel that this is an infringement on a personal right, and as a person who firmly believes that there are rights that we all have, and that government can at times extend overreach, I do feel that this is a compromise, which I thought it did an adequate job of keeping 95% of the vaping away from the highly populated areas within the parks, and still provided the rights to some people who are out in the woods, and in some cases on the trails, the ability to vape if they so choose. So again, where I am on this thing is that I don't support the banning of vaping in any way, but I do feel that this is a legitimate compromise okay, between the two extremes, that we should, both sides should consider supporting, given the fact that we are mindful of the highly populated areas, or potentially highly populated areas in the parks.
Thank you, Legislator Brew. After having the complete discussion, we're going to have a roll call vote now
On the amendment.
on the amendment, excuse me.
Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Barnhart votes no. Mr. Brew? Yes. Mr. Brew votes yes. Mr. Delahaney? Yes. Mr. Delahaney votes yes. Mr. Long? No. Mr. Long votes no. Chairman Johns?
Yes.
Chairman Johns votes yes. Motion to amend passes.
Okay, now we're going to discuss the main motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Okay. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Next item. Item carries. Next item.
Referral 23-0058, confirmation of reappointment to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Region 8 Fish and Wildlife Management Board.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, second by Legislator Brew. Any discussion on this referral? Seeing none. All those in favor of this referral, all those in favor of this referral signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item. That's it. Okay, are there any other matters to come before this committee? Okay, and seeing none, there being no other matters, the February 27th, 2023 meeting of Agenda Charter stands adjourned. The next meeting of Agenda Charter will be held on Monday, March